For those of you who came in the middle of the conversation, we're talking about the series, The Chosen, and feelings that are coming up around it and what's motivating to watch it. And whatever we're interested in terms of a movie, a series, a story, it has information for us about our own projections and our own emotional life. And it's really worth sinking more deeply into what's underneath this and what's underneath this. We'll do it together. It'll probably come up today. I just watched a documentary series on Martin Scorsese. And Martin Scorsese's movies are notoriously graphic with violence. It's so interesting to hear him talk about how he's depicting reality, scenes that have actually happened. When he checks back with the storyteller or the person who's sharing the incident, it's not fiction. They're not discussing how can we have a very shocking, bloody scene just to titillate the audience. Not at all. He's actually showing the dark underbelly of human nature. And in that way, he reminded me of Freud, that Ken Wapnick used to say Freud knew the ego for what it was. He did not sugarcoat it. He did not whitewash it. Freud's only problem was that he didn't have a connection with God. So it was a very gloomy point of view to only know the ego and the worst of the ego without flinching and not have a way out. Yeah, still, there's something about watching these scenes which in the past I couldn't stomach and I shielded myself from, and I was like, I don't want to see it. And now I'm just looking. And I have this portrait of Jesus on my wall, and I'm constantly looking up at him like, did you see that? Or what was that about? Or how could we go that far, that low? How do we think these things up, humanity? Odds, you want to say something?
Yeah, just really quick, I just want to tell you the latest quote from this is from season 4, episode 2. And Jesus says, I know it's hard. And Simon got renamed to Peter. And he says, why does everything have to be so hard? And Jesus replies, man makes it much harder when he leans on his own understanding.
Mm.
Man makes it much harder when he leans on his own understanding.
Odds, he's telling us a part of The Chosen, the series The Chosen, for those of you who are just coming in. Say it one more time, Otzi. Jesus tells Peter.
Yeah, he's saying, I know it's hard. And Peter says, why does everything have to be? And Jesus says, man makes it much harder when he leans on his own understanding.
Because man's own understanding is very limited and deliberately so. Ego has deliberately cut us off from our loving essence in order to keep us in a state of fear so that we just spin our wheels engaging with the ego. It's just a way of keeping us from abandoning the ego. There's a lot of talk on YouTube right now about abandoning ourselves. It's psychological and emotional talk. People are talking about self-abandonment and in a good way, how to stay connected with myself, how to be true to myself, how to set boundaries, how to speak up for myself in a way that is in alignment with the loving self that I want to represent. And the ego is all about self-abandonment, capital S self-abandonment. Okay, so today we're continuing with lesson 185, I Want the Peace of God. We delved into the first 4 paragraphs, and in a way we're picking up with paragraph 5, but we'll read through the whole thing just to be in the flow, and we can never read it too many times. Interestingly, though, I went to the review lesson. The review lesson of 185 is lesson 205. And I'd like to read that one first. You might want to close your eyes and relax and just allow the words to flow through you. You may understand them, you may not. Just really grounding us in the spirit of lesson 185 by doing the review first. It begins, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I want the peace of God. The peace of God is everything I want. The peace of God is my one goal, the aim of all my living here, the end I seek, my purpose and my function and my life, while I abide where I am not at home. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. We gather here today because we want the peace of God. The peace of God is everything we want. The peace of God is our one goal, the aim of all our living here, the end we seek, our purpose and our function and our life, while we abide where we are not at home. The peace of God is actually a stepping stone to pure being. Sometimes called pure presence, awareness, the absolute, God mind. The peace of God is a stepping stone. It's not our ultimate state. It's an expansion out of personal identity. It's a constancy of knowing ourselves as everyone and everything everywhere, while still in touch with the dream figure that we've taken ourselves to be and that we're disidentifying with little by little, more and more, with less and less fear that we won't exist, that we won't be able to function, opening. And as we open and allow, we shift from fear to peace. And that's what A Course in Miracles is for. As the Course tells us in its introduction, it's not here to teach us the meaning of love, for that's beyond what can be taught. That's what we are. That's what we discover. That's the realization. The experience that comes before realization is peace flows over us. We have a shift in perception. from totally fear-based thinking into connecting with an inner knowing. You could call it love, you could call it light, you could call it peace. Sometimes it feels like joy. For me, it's been a feeling of well-being, an ongoing feeling of well-being that I can easily lose sight of, but then catch myself and go, ah, Amy identity fully took over for a little while there. And let me just check in. And somehow, usually it feels like it's in the heart center, dropping into something larger, which seems to be in the body. Actually, we are in it. It's always there, this sense of well-being, a sense of peace, a sense of more than meets the eye. It's hard to put into words because it's beyond words. It's beyond the limitations of language. Yeah. And it's here now. This knowing, this felt sense is here now. It really takes relaxation. The development of trust is what the Course calls it. A willingness to rest in God, a willingness to believe without seeing. The ego came up with the idea of believing. It convinced us of something, that we're separate from God, and it continues to talk us into that. Believing doesn't exist in God mind. There's no need for believing. And Jesus uses everything that the ego has made as our classroom. So Jesus can use believing for a while for believing in him or believing in Holy Spirit. Jesus is just the manifestation of the Holy Spirit, just a human figure for us to relate to. But Jesus's teacher, you could say, is spirit, the inner spirit. Helen Schuckman called it the internal teacher. For me, it often feels like an inner knowing, a knowing. It's not just an intellectual comprehension. It's not just a grasping of a concept. It's deeper than that and more intuitive than that. And it can feel like the full connection is not there yet. The screen that Rupert Spiro often uses as a analogy, that spirit is the ever-present screen and the movie is arising on the screen. So when we watch TV or a monitor and we get very absorbed in the story and the characters and the pictures, we're unaware of the screen that it arises on. But what's permanent is the screen, and what's temporary are the story figures moving through. So it's the same with our own personal self. We're very absorbed in our own story, even when we're ready to be done with it. And it just takes some good looking and noticing that ego strategies include a fantastic gift for forgetting. Things go in one ear and out the other, wisdom, and also clenching. To be a body is to be in a fear clench. And that's our normal. So we have to become aware of all the subtle tension that we're carrying so that we can then come out of denial of thinking, I'm relaxed, and realize, oh no, I am not relaxed. And start to find out, well, how in the world am I going to let go of this clench? It feels frozen. This seems like normal to me. I don't know how to undo it. And that's what joining with the Course in Miracles helps us with, is letting go of our belief in fear and our reliance on fear. And then the clench starts to slowly melt. Feeling starts to come back, and we may find ourselves crying for supposedly no reason. but it may be with joy or with relief or just with recognition, or it may be old wounds and pain needs to come up, and not just personal pain. It may be family history pain. It may be the pain of the world. As my yoga teacher told me when I started to soften and release in yoga class and not know what was going on, he said, "You're raining tears of compassion on the world." And then in that moment, I had a shift that stayed with me, which was my tears are not something to hide or be ashamed of. They're not bothering anybody. They're of value. My tears are my heart connection to everyone. There's definitely, there's a beautiful, innocent desire inside to take everyone's pain away, to love everybody, to be a comforter. And we all have that in one way or another. That's how I feel my connection with spirit since I was little. And then the ego distorts that and makes it a victim story. Oh, this happened to my people, and oh, my, mother has this illness, and it becomes personal and distorted, and us against them. I remember my most romantic notion when I was, a teenager wanting to fall in love was it will be you and me against the world. That's what I wanted. I see you, Erica. Can you keep it short? Because I'm kind of in a flow. Or do you want to hold that thought for a little later?
I can keep it short and related because I gotta leave in a few minutes. I have to take my
Okay.
kids to the doctor's appointment.
Oh,
But I just wanted to comment on what you were saying about the movie screen and how it's really just God's will for us. And the way that I'm able to conceptualize it is we can never usurp God's will, and He doesn't will us to be in suffering. But because we're experiencing it, the ego wants to convince us that it's real. And
I'm gonna come in here, Erica, and ask you, what is it in you that wants to tell us whatever you want to tell us? What is your deeper urge that you'd like to say this to us?
I think it's just for me and for a lot of people that are looking at A Course in Miracles from the outside, they see
Okay, so
it
I'm
and
going to
they
stop
think,
you right there.
yeah,
And I'm going to
okay.
ask you to simply keep the focus just on you. And
Mhm.
in this very moment, not referencing the past, find out in your body, where is the inner push to say something right now?
It's really just to help because
Find
it's
that.
something,
There's no
yeah,
because. There's
yeah.
no because.
It's
Just
like,
move into the feeling of
yeah,
I want to help. Very, very potent. I want to help. Find that in your body. Where is that feeling?
it's in my heart.
There you go. So let's just stay with your heart and just breathe through that area and the sense of, I want to help. I want to contribute. Would that also be part of it, Erica?
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
want to contribute. And just feel that and let yourself know that means I want to be the love. That's the essence of this contribution.
Hmm.
Just feel it. Is it strong?
It's it's strong and it's like there's so many different ways of saying the same thing.
So don't
And
say
it's like,
anything. Don't
yeah.
say anything. And
It's like there's too many words.
instead of letting it just be diluted with words, in your case, just in this moment, instead of words, go deeper into this. I want to help. I want to contribute. I want to love, and let that strengthen and brighten your presence so that you give that to us and everybody through your presence. No words necessary.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me use you as a example. In Gestalt, we call it hot seat work. So you were in the hot seat, Erica. Yes, that's sweet. Sending you hearts. And of course, anytime I work with anybody, it's for all of us. We can all get a vicarious experience through somebody else's work. It's never just only for that person, as long as we open to it. So in my flow, I have a poem, and I think this would be a good moment to share the poem. It's called Beatitude, and it's by John Keene. It's just going to say choose love the whole time. There are no pictures other than this. So you may want to lean back and close your eyes and soak it in. Soak it in.
Beatitude by John Keene. Love everything. Love the sky and sea, trees and rivers, mountains and abysses. Love animals, and not just because you are one. Love your parents and your children, even if you have none. Love your spouse or partner, no matter what either word means to you. Love until you create a cavern in your loving, until it seethes like a volcano. Love every time. Love your enemies. Love the enemies of your enemies. Love those whose very idea of love is hate. Love the liars and the fakes. Love the tattletales and the hypocrites, the hucksters and the traitors. Love the thieves, because everyone has thought of stealing something at least once. Love the rich who only live to empty your purse or wallet. Love the poverty of your empty coin purse or wallet. Love your piss and sweat and shit. Love your and others' chatter and its proof of the expansiveness of nothingness. Love your shadows and their silent censure. Love your fears, yesterdays and tomorrows. Love your yesterdays and tomorrows. Love your beginning and your end. Love the fact that your end is another beginning, or could be, for someone else. Love yourself, but not too much that you cannot love everything and everyone else. Love everywhere. Love in the absence of love. Love the monsters breeding in every corner of the city and suburb, all throughout the soil of the countryside. Love the monster breeding inside you and slaughter him with love. Love the shipwreck of your body, your mind's salted garden. Love, love.
Now, that's a poem. That's love. It's all inclusive. That's the potency that it doesn't exactly accumulate, but I'll use that word for now, that when we drop our attention more and more deeply into the urge, the desire to feel the peace of God or to love or to awaken, any version or variation of that, when we stay with it without talking, without outward expression, without going external, it builds in us. It builds in us, and its nature is that it flows, that it overflows. That's why Jesus tells us in the Course that the miracles will ripple through us to the far corners of anywhere and everywhere, beyond any knowing that we'll have of who they affected, how much healing occurred. It's the nature of love to love endlessly, boundlessly. Now, it's okay to talk. It's okay to contribute with words. It's okay to feel our enthusiasm and overflow that way. Sometimes we really need that. We need that connection. We need to actually, if we want our words to be well spent, we need to look into the eyes of another and see that we're received. And then we need to receive that receiving. That's a full circle. That's not just giving with words. It's giving checking that the other is with us so that we don't overwhelm them, so that we see that our contribution is landing. If not, we need to attune and rein ourselves back in and recalculate, as the GPS says. We need to pace ourselves in connection with the other person. Or we need them to do it to us. If we're just overflowing and need to spill it all out and we're in need of the miracle, we need somebody who's going to listen well. And that takes attunement. Attunement, one of my favorite words. The opposite of a pet peeve. It's one of my favorite things. Attunement. What does it mean? It means tuning into the Holy Spirit, like a radio signal. It means tuning in to the person across from you. It means tuning in to ourself. When we actually do that and we hit the signal and it's strong, it's not wavering, it's clicked in, wow, we start to find things out. And those are our openings. And we drop down, we become more me, until we find out everyone is like this. Everyone has this hunger. Everyone feels this loss. This is the nature of the ego. These are the qualities of the ego. I don't have to be ashamed anymore. I just need to pay attention so that I can have compassion for myself, so that I can be healthy enough that I can contribute. I can have true empathy. This is why I love psychology, the kind that connects with spirituality and understands that the world is not a finite destination for us. Maybe the world is finite, but our relationship with the world is infinite as we awaken. Infinitely loving. You know, nature boy. The greatest thing we'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. If that's as far as we got in this lifetime, that would be plenty. And I always like to say, do what's harder. So if it's harder for us to talk, talking may be a very important healing for us. Articulating what we're feeling, what we want to communicate, finding the words, getting better at communicating. And if talking is easy for us, then doing what's harder is reining it in, noticing, what is this expression about? Can it become more potent if I let it simmer inside me, simmer in a good way? Cook. Let's read, I want the peace of God, paragraph 1.
I want the peace of God. To say these words is nothing, but to mean these words is everything. If you could but mean them for just an instant, there would be no further sorrow possible for you in any form, in any place or time. Heaven would be completely given back to full awareness, memory of God entirely restored, the resurrection of all creation fully recognized.
Okay, so let's see. The title of the lesson, I Want the Peace of God, is our purpose, and that was made clear in the review lesson 205. It's our purpose, it's our function as Course in Miracles students, as awakening spiritual seekers. So to say these words, I want the peace of God, is nothing. It's just lip service. It's just words. But to mean these words, I truly want, I desire the peace of God, is everything, to mean them. Now, there's a place in the Course, chapter 18, section 4, that says, trust not your good intentions. They are not enough. This is what I mean about dropping deeper. We have to really cultivate relationship with ourselves and be honest. Start to get honest as we're not afraid to see what we've judged as bad, but instead get honest with ourselves and the Holy Spirit and say, yeah, this is my good intention. I do want the peace of God, but maybe that's not enough. Maybe there's a lot more going on beneath the surface that I'm not aware of and that I've even deliberately been keeping from myself. And I would like to come out of denial now. That much I know, Jesus. I would like to join with you and look together. And my palm is starting to sweat, and my other hand is holding on to the ego tight now. And I'm noticing that. And noticing is everything, you guys. So then we just say, and I'm noticing that, Jesus, and I'm going to fill you in on my process as I go. Because if I do it in baby steps, then I might actually have the courage to continue and not just say, I want the peace of God and run and answer the phone or eat a cookie or scoop the litter box, whatever it is. If we could actually mean, I want the peace of God, just for an instant, you guys, for an instant, there would be no further sorrow possible for us in any forms, no matter what form it came in. World War III, we couldn't have sorrow because we would know this is a dream. And this is not actually what we are. This is virtual reality. It's like a video game. There would be no further sorrow possible for you in any form, in any place, or in any time. Because these things start to roll up and disappear, time and place and form. Heaven, which is also pure awareness, God mind, heaven would be completely given back to full awareness, memory of God entirely restored, the resurrection of all creation fully recognized, fully reknown. All of that would be true. And the truth is, we can't take it. It's too much. And somewhere in the Course, Jesus says something to the effect of, don't worry, you will not be abruptly hurled back into heaven. He knows that the suddenness, the abruptness of having a light shown in our eyes. Another place in the Course says, if a child is dreaming and you flip on the light, it's too much. It's going to become part of the bad dream, part of the nightmare. It's going to feel threatening and dangerous, that light. It's not going to be gently illuminating. So us on the Course path, we need a step-by-step gentle approach. I know this guy who I'm enjoying right now, Simon Mundy, who does YouTube videos and recently had what he calls a Ken show, an awakening. He said before it, he was on retreat, a silent retreat, and he said to Spirit, please be gentle with me. Please be gentle with me. And so his Ken show, his awakening, was not frightening, although for most people at some point in the process of awakening, there will come scary moments. They don't have to be totally terrifying. You know, they can be diluted little by little, watered down so that we can recognize them and go, okay, I'm feeling scared. I'm hyperventilating. My heart is beating fast. And I still have the presence of mind to say, Jesus, I'm choosing to hold your hand. This is my 40 days and 40 nights in the desert right here. We're acclimated to that. And then we develop a taste over the years for going back to full awareness, experiencing, and beyond experience, knowing that what we are is more like energy than it is flesh and blood. And it's uncontained and it's ever alive. That's what we are. But we have incredible unconscious attachment to these forms and to other people's forms and other animal forms and other location forms. And they feel like life to us. And so we need to become more and more aware of whether we're at that readiness point of, I've experienced enough me, and I've experienced enough life, and I really am ready, or more ready enough for the next adventure, for the next expansion into there's something more than meets the eye. That this is not the be all and the end all of reality, not at all. This is the tiniest part. It's like, oh, wow. That sense of wonder, that beautiful sense of anticipation, even as we're aging, not that our life is over, that death is a window. If we haven't gotten it before death, death is a great opportunity. Oh, here it comes for real, even me. There's this feeling like, yeah, I get it. I'm in touch with reality. I know we're all going to die, except not really me, though, right? Yeah, even me, even you, even us. Number 2.
No one can mean these words and not be healed. He cannot play with dreams, nor think he is himself a dream. He cannot make a hell and think it real. He wants the peace of God, and it is given him, for that is all he wants, and that is all he will receive. Many have said these words, but few indeed have meant them. You have but to look upon the world you see around you to be sure how very few they are. The world would be completely changed should any two of these words express the only thing they want.
Thank you, Ricky. No one, none of us can mean these words, I want the peace of God, and not be healed. So I'm sort of getting an image of the split mind. The healing takes place in the mind because the mind seems to be split. And think of the split as something, really torn and bloody and painful. Think of it as a fissure that's seemingly too deep and too wide for us to cross over, and this needs healing. And Jesus is here to give us that healing if we can be sincere. A lot of this work is finding out, I'm here, but am I sincere? I'm here. I made it to the doorstep, Spirit's doorstep. But now that I'm here, can I sincerely request to recognize what I already am? This is the question. And we don't have to answer it. We just need to be honest with ourselves. That's all. Like, oh, it does feel sort of like I'm holding my breath. There's something, even though I'm looking at this horrible rift, this fissure, this bloody, nasty split. I don't know. I'm used to it. I don't know. I don't know, Jesus, if I want to go any further. So that's where we are together right now. We're just right here. No one can mean the words, I want the peace of God, and not be healed. So let's allow ourselves to mean it to the best of our sincerity. That's all. I'm going to change pronouns from he to us and you. You cannot play with dreams. That's what we're doing right now. Thinking we're a person in a world with a life is dreaming. If we mean the words, I want the peace of God, we can no longer play with dreams. We will not remain in this dream much longer, nor think ourselves a dream. We will no longer identify as the person that we're taking ourselves to be. That is going to evaporate. That's what meaning, I want the peace of God, is leading to. You cannot make a hell and think it real when you really want the peace of God. Jesus is telling us the life we're living, the world we're living in, it is a hell that we are making real with our imagination. And we've got to catch on to at least that much, or at least trust him enough that maybe he's right about that. And maybe we've been wrong about everything we hold dear, everything we cling to as security. Maybe we're wrong about it all. All of that is going to be shown to be false when we really mean, I want the peace of God. When you want the peace of God, it is given you. If we really want it, God's not holding back. God's not saying, say it a little nicer. Get down on your knees a little lower. God's not doing any of that. If we really mean it, done. Jesus is chomping at the bit to give it to us, the peace of God. He's holding his breath. He's going, come on, come on. It's like a baby, a toddler taking their first steps. Come to mommy. I know you can make it. And they tumble and, fall on their bum and we're ecstatic. He's just right there. It's us, believe it or not, that are holding back and not allowing the peace of God to just take over, to just reveal itself, to emerge. So that's a big, big insight. And it will blossom inside of us throughout the rest of the day and through the week and until we meet again. It's blossoming to the degree that we're able to tolerate it blossoming. Okay. So when you want the peace of God, it is given you, for that is all you want. And that is all you will receive. It's absolute. There's no a little bit of hell, but also a lot of peace. No, it's one or the other as a course student. Many have said these words, I want the peace of God, but few indeed have meant them. It's usually a barter. They say there are no atheists in foxholes, that even if you've never believed in God and you've had the best argument in the world against why God exists, that if you're at war and you find yourself in a foxhole and there are bombs flying overhead and landing all around you, the human urge is to pray. It's built into us. It's in us. The urge is to pray. And that is the memory of God within us. But at the very lowest rung of the ladder, our prayer is very primitive and we trade like, God, if you save me, if you send me home from this mess, I promise to go to church every Sunday for the rest of my life. Something like that. And Jesus is sitting there going, I'm not impressed, but I'm glad you reached out to me. It's better than nothing. Many have said these words, but few indeed have meant them. You have but, often the word but in A Course in Miracles is that Shakespearean language, and it may feel like it doesn't make sense. So you can substitute the word only. You have only to look upon the world you see around you to be sure how very few they are. So when we look around right now, where we're at here in the 21st century, how does it look? Rick Bryant has his head in his hands. I mean, we all feel like that. It's just a terrible, terrible, hateful, cruel mess. And it's not just now, it's from the beginning of time. I mentioned at the beginning of class, not all of you were here, that I just watched that documentary series on Martin Scorsese. And he has a tremendous fascination and pull to look our human nature straight in the eye. And over the course of his career, he's done movies I never knew about, movies about the Christians bringing Christianity to Japan and how the Japanese who embraced Christianity, oh my God, how they suffered what was done to them. And this is like in the 16th century. It's just, I love how the Course just says, it's not getting worse. The whole story began and was over in one unholy instant. It's all bad, you know? Yes, there's beauty in the world. And when we shift our perception and we look with the Holy Spirit, then we're seeing through the reflection of God's love and everything looks different. And the Course tells us that everything that's been love in our lives is retained. None of that love is lost. Love for our children, the animals, the earth, Mother Earth, all of it, all that love is retained. It's all symbolic of the love that we actually are. The Martin Scorsese documentary, I think it's called Mr. Scorsese, and it's on Apple TV. And it's called A Film Portrait by Rebecca Miller. And Rebecca Miller is Arthur Miller's daughter, the playwright Arthur Miller. So it's just so interesting to see the work and the heart and the depth of being driven to produce these creative searches into what is humanity, what is morality, what is good and evil. I was saying earlier that Scorsese was explaining that the violence in his films, the absolutely horrific violence, is never gratuitous. It's always based on a true historical incident. And he's showing us because he wants to look, just like Freud wanted to look. But I don't know that they're looking with Jesus. We are. We're not just looking in horror. We're not just having that fascination that draws us to the scene of a car accident and gawking because better you than me, even though there's, we may be sending out prayers and they're very useful, but there's also just that human fascination with this happens and it didn't happen to me. But we can be aware of that. That's the noticing, is just noticing and being able to laugh a little bit at Amy's ego, self-preservation thoughts, and then share them with Jesus and have him laugh too. Like, yeah, the ego thinks it's self-preserving something. It's wrong. The whole course, Jesus is saying to us, you're wrong. You're wrong. We don't like to be told we're wrong, and yet we're showing up for it. And we have to start to get the hang of that also. He's telling me I'm wrong about everything. It's getting annoying. Oh, so you have but to look upon the world you see around you to be sure how very few mean the words, I want the peace of God. The world would be completely changed. If everybody meant, I want the peace of God, you know how fast COVID happened? Even faster would the world be changed through love. The world would be completely changed should any two agree these words express the only thing they want. Now, technically, when Jesus said, should any two agree these words express the only thing they want, I'm just going to say that Jesus many times explains to us that there's only one of us here, and it's the Son of God projecting many. So when he says two, it can seem like he's contradicting himself. But the way I'm going to take it is that if two of us join with the Holy Spirit, we recognize ourselves as one. And I don't need you to join with the Holy Spirit for me to join and see us as one. And that's why the collective ego mind, which is really the one Son of God in a state of mistaken identity, in a delusional, hallucinatory, insane state of taking ourselves to be other than what we are, to be what we're not, which is separated, which is that horrible split mind, that horrible rift. We're taking ourselves to be on the other side of that rift. And so we're never communicating honestly with another person ever, because everything is about the self-preservation of the ego on this side of the rift. On the other side of the rift, there's no rift. We're hallucinating a rift. And so sometimes Jesus will talk about opposites. The right mind and the wrong mind are total opposites, and there's no compromise. But actually, the only opposition comes from the ego. God doesn't oppose anything. There's nothing to oppose. And that gets us into level 1 of A Course in Miracles, which is God mind, which is pure awareness. God is, and then we cease to speak. I think we're told in lesson 189. The ineffable, the wordless, the beyond comprehension, that's what we are. And then on the other side of that, the ego tells us something else. But there's places in the Course where it says, and God thinks otherwise. But God doesn't argue, God doesn't speak, because there's nothing to speak to or to say. And if God did, that would make the error real. That would acknowledge a reality other than God mind, of which there is none. Other paths call it other things. That's a whole other conversation. Paragraph 3.
Two minds with one intent become so strong that what they will becomes the will of God. For minds can only join in truth. In dreams, no two can share the same intent. To each, the hero of the dream is different, the outcome wanted not the same for both. Love, loser and gainer, merely shift about in changing patterns. as the ratio of gain to loss and loss to gain takes on a different aspect or another form.
Thank you, Rafi. So here we see that again, where Jesus says two minds with one intent become so strong that what they will becomes the will of God, because we're connecting our will back to our original will, which is the capital W, will of God. For minds can only join in truth. The only joining that can take place is with Jesus and the Holy Spirit, using coarse language. You know, if you're using language from another path, joining with awareness, with presence, Buddha, Krishna, you know, whatever path you're on. And then he says, in dreams, no two can share the same intent. See, that can seem confusing because above the bold line on Ken Wapnick's chart is God mind, and that's just level one pure, loving mind. So when he says two minds with one intent become so strong, he's really talking about that bridge, the Holy Spirit helping us get back to level one, God mind. Level two is the mind thinking it's separate from God, and the world, the physical world that the ego has us hide in to supposedly protect us from God. So when Jesus talks about in dreams, no two can share the same intent, it's because in dreams we're separate and we can never join. We may have sex and that seems like we're making love and we join, or we may give money to charities and that may seem like we're joining. And they're generous impulses. They're symbolic of joining, but they're not actual joining. That's level two, where we cannot join. So in dreams, no two can share the same intent because to each, the hero of the dream is different because we're in separate bodies. And the hero of the dream is our body and our personal self. The outcome wanted, not the same for both. What I want for me is not what I want for you. If I want to win the Academy Award, then I don't want you to win the Academy Award. It can't be both of us. Oh, loser and gainer. But I really enjoyed how Rafi said lover, like love, right? That's where we're all headed. We're in the mood, we're feeling it. And we're like, loser? What? Love, that's where it's at. Loser and gainer merely shift about in changing patterns as the ratio of gain to loss and loss to gain takes on a different aspect or another form. So that's the bargaining I'm talking about. You know, there are no atheists in foxholes, that the kind of prayer that we do when we're not understanding what true prayer is, that it never supplicates, it never begs, it never asks for anything. True prayer is joining, it's communing, it's tuning into the memory of God within us and singing a song of communion. It's like when you all volunteer to read, and at the end I go, weaving a fabric of love. It's just so delicious. Okay, Don.
Yet, compromise alone a dream can bring. Sometimes it takes the form of union, but only the form. The meaning must escape the dream, for compromising is the goal of dreaming. Minds cannot unite in dreams, they merely bargain. And what bargain can give them the peace of God? Illusions come to take his place, and what he means is lost to sleeping minds intent on compromise, each to his gain and to another's loss.
Thank you, Don. That first sentence threw me off for a while until I got the Shakespearean loop of it. Yet compromise alone, only compromise a dream can bring. Dreams only bring compromise. Sometimes compromise takes the form of union, like making love, sex, giving someone a hug, but only the form. It's not real union. Two bodies can never be one. The meaning must escape the dream. Meaning. So the meaning, I think we're going back to the meaning of this lesson. I want the peace of God. The purpose of this lesson has to escape the dream, leave the dream. For compromising is the goal of dreaming. So it's not a compromise. I want the peace of God. It's uncompromising. Minds cannot unite in dreams. That's why that sentence at the end of paragraph 2, the world would be completely changed should any two agree these words express the only thing they want. That's just Jesus's way of relating to us because we take ourselves as different from each other, but actually we cannot be two. And if we're joining with Jesus and the Holy Spirit in those moments, we know ourselves as each other. We're not different. And it seems contradictory, and we have to allow that the deeper meaning of it is totally consistent. Minds cannot unite in dreams, they merely bargain. And what bargain can give them the peace of God? Illusions come to take God's place. And what God means is lost to sleeping minds intent on compromise, each to his gain and to another's loss. We have to come to terms with the fact that we have deliberately put ourselves into a deep sleep, a hypnotic coma of believing that we're separate from God. We have done this. The secret to salvation, we're told in the Course, is discovering that we are the dreamer of this whole dream. And the ego would have us say, little old me, I couldn't have come up with all this. And Jesus says, that's arrogance. That's arrogance. Take your rightful place. Sit next to me. Let's look together. Who came up with this? Oh, I did. That was me. But not me, Amy, not you, Don, Elizabeth, John, it's the collective Son of God in that moment, in that tiny mad idea moment where a portion, we could say, just giving some mythology to how did this happen, where a portion of the Son of God mind of God's creation just was like, I'm interested in that idea that I could separate from God, that I could play at being God. That's interesting. We don't know at first that that's going to turn into a nightmare. We're just interested in it. The rest of the Son of God mind just laughs. It chuckles. It's like separate from wholeness. It's an oxymoron. That's it. Separate from wholeness. No. Haha. That's it. And we're told, into eternity, where all is one, crept a tiny mad idea at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. That we could separate from God. That's it. Into eternity where all is one with a capital O. He's only saying two just to meet us here. I think Gloria Wapnick used to refer to oneness as not two-ness. Not two-ness. There is none. We can never read anything in the Course too many times because we can get it from any section, any portion, any paragraph, any sentence from A Course in Miracles if we really open and trust. We can get it anywhere in the Course. Now we're going to read 3 more paragraphs. Readers, nice and slow. Don't worry if you stumble on a word. If you want to repeat something that you read, feel free. And listeners, let the first reading just flow into you and through you. You can just close your eyes and be a sponge. Just absorb the love and wisdom that's the depth beyond the words.
To mean you want the peace of God is to renounce all dreams. For no one means these words who wants illusions, and who therefore seeks the means which brings illusions. He has looked on them and found them wanting. Now he seeks to go beyond them, recognizing that another dream would offer nothing more than all the others. dreams are one to him, and he has learned their only difference is one of form, for one will bring the same despair and misery as do the rest.
The mind, which means that all it wants is peace, must join with other minds, for that is how peace is obtained. And when the wish for peace is genuine, the means for finding it is given in a form that each mind that seeks for it in honesty can understand. Whatever form the lesson takes is planned for him in such a way that he cannot mistake it if his asking is sincere. But if he asks without sincerity, there is no form in which the lesson will meet with acceptance and truly be learned.
Let us today devote our practicing to recognizing in the words we say. We want the peace of God. This is no I. These words do not request another dream be given us. They do not ask for compromise, nor try to bargain in the hope that there may be one that can succeed where all the rest. To mean these words acknowledges illusions are in vain, requesting the eternal in the place of shifting dreams, which seem to change in what they offer, but are one in nothingness.
So beautiful, so quiet. We're all part of the fabric of love. The quiet center, the stately calm within. To mean you want the peace of God is to renounce all dreams. For no one means these words who wants illusions, and who therefore seeks the means which bring illusions. Now, this is very tough, what he's saying to us here, because he's saying if we still feel like we're a person with a life right now, it means that we want illusions, and that's what we're choosing. Because if we didn't want illusions, we would renounce all dreams, all illusions, this very moment. It's a hard pill to swallow. If we're suffering, if we have problems, we're yelling at him and begging him and saying, no, no, I want the peace of God. And he's saying, no. You're clinging to your dream and you think your dream is going to save you. And you're still too afraid to really want what I have for you. But I have it. It's not going anywhere. I'm with you. I am with you as long as it takes. And that's important for us to start to take in, not to criticize ourselves, simply to realize, oh, I'm too afraid. And I'm willing to become less afraid. And I'm willing to be free of fear. Those things I can want. And that's little baby steps getting us to a bigger statement, which is, I truly want the peace of God. We have to become aware of that. Otherwise, the course seems too black and white, and it can just be frustrating. Like, I'm not getting it. I said it very strongly. I said it very loudly, but we have to contact what is the obstacle to the awareness of love's presence that he tells us about in the introduction to the text. We're here to remove the obstacles to the awareness of love's presence. Okay, the ego is very cunning. It has told me, I don't remember this, but Jesus is reminding me, it's told me to distrust everything the Holy Spirit says, that the Holy Spirit is like a Trojan horse. It's going to betray me. I better stay where I am. The evil that I know is better than the evil that I don't. And Jesus is saying, no, it's not. Because the only evil that you know is the one that you made up. There is no evil that you don't know. There is no boogeyman under the bed. We have to breathe through that. Am I willing? Am I willing to know that and believe that and trust that? And in this moment, I hope that we can each say, yes, that much I'm willing, at least that much. Yes. To mean you want the peace of God is to renounce all dreams. For no one means these words, I want the peace of God, who actually wants illusions, and who therefore seeks the means which bring illusions, which means we're relying on the ego as our guide. You have looked on illusions and found them wanting. He's saying that to Helen. Helen, you have looked on illusions and found them wanting. And he's saying that to all of us. We all have looked on illusions together and on your own, and we have found illusions wanting. Now we seek to go beyond illusions, recognizing, re-knowing that another dream would offer nothing more than all the others. This is what the Course calls generalization. When we've worked with our specific problems and beliefs and interpretations enough and opinions, when we've looked at them enough, we start to realize it's all one thing. It's all part of the same dream. It's lesson 5. I'm never upset for the reason I think. There's a deeper reason. And it's that I'm believing in the illusion. I think the dream is reality. But now I'm recognizing that they're all the same. Dreams are all one to us. And we have learned their only difference is one of form, a gazillion different forms. The Course says nothing so blinding as perception of form. Form is mesmerizing. We just get hooked into it. Dreams are one to us. We've realized all dreams boil down to the same one dream of separation, and we have learned their only difference is one of form, for one will bring the same despair and misery as do the rest. So he's just reiterating his point. Bad dreams are all the same. They boil down to the cause of the one bad dream, which is believing we've separated from God and that we're going to be punished and that there is no mercy for us. We will not be saved. And we've got nothing to turn to except hiding. Taylor?
I just had a quick question. This is really aligning with where I feel like I am right now in the journey. Are you familiar with the Buddhist fetters?
The fetters. So yeah, just to quickly say that in Buddhism, there's Zen Buddhism, there's Tibetan Buddhism, there's different Buddhisms. And in one of them, there were 12 fetters? I think fetters could be likened to the ways in which we keep ourselves in the illusion. They're the hooks that keep us delusional. And one of them is probably attachment, aversion, desire, like that.
Yes, those are the specific 4 and 5. 4 is attraction to or desire, and 5 is aversion.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like I am. They're all the same. My likes are just as delusional as my aversions. Like I was going to ask you for an appointment because I'm in this really weird place but it's not laziness, which is what I would have labeled it a month ago. I don't want anything. Like I don't want anything anymore because I see the futility of it. And to give like a real revelation, Matt was shocked yesterday because he said, "You don't want anything?" And I said, "No." He said, "You don't want the facelift anymore?" And I said, "No, I don't want the facelift." That's like super personal, and I don't like admitting that, but that's where I am. I completely see that it will not bring. I've gotten everything I've ever wanted in life, right? Except for this, illusory enlightenment thing, which actually, ironically, I feel like I'm sneaking up on that too. But I've gotten it all. Lost most of it, got most of it back, and I came to this really stark awareness a couple of weeks ago after a lot of emotions, really turbulent emotions coming up, and I just realized, like, none of it has brought me peace. The things that I have just killed myself and been so destructive in the path of trying to obtain because I just had to have it. It was going to be the thing. All it has ever done is set me up for the next round of the more monster. You get it. It appeases you for what, half a second? You might be bright-eyed, for 5 minutes or an hour. And then, boom, the hunger is back. And now we're seeking the next thing. And it's different because usually that awareness has plunged me into hopelessness. So there's been like a real apathetic, kind of a bratty, like, well, if I can't have my way, then I just don't want anything. This isn't that. This is like, wow, really, I need do nothing. Like, seriously. That is sinking in at a level I didn't even know I could comprehend, and I don't believe I've arrived anywhere. I think I'm just in this process of more awareness coming, but it's so strange. Like, I don't even want my business, Amy, you know how much, the things that I have placed value in, and now all of a sudden I'm still showing up for work. It's important. I'm minding it. I don't let things slip, but there is an edge and aggressiveness. There's an insatiable hunger that's always kind of been attached to my persona that makes me a very driven and ambitious and neurotic type of personality, and it's just kind of dissolving. I don't want anything. I'm spending a lot of time staring at a wall.
Does it help to say this out loud and be so transparent with us? Is there something about the exposure and the expression that is clarifying?
Yeah, it feels, because I hit it when I admitted that I would have never told you guys about, I'm so vain, and being cute my whole life really hasn't helped me out at this point. It's causing a lot of problems, and for me,
I hope you've also enjoyed it.
I've had a lot of fun with it, but also now realizing that it caused me just as much pain and problem because of the way that I manipulated it or it's just all about getting things.
It's a good example of what you were saying about the very thing that you're attracted to is also the aversion, that good looks can be fun and also good looks can get you into trouble. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I guess probably generalized being the nature of all this form, just like we're talking about, it can be heaven and it can be hell, and really they're the same thing. And so when I just said it to you, I was like, oh my God, am I really going to admit this to this group and this is going to go on YouTube? Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's no peace in a facelift. There's no peace in me being the most successful pet sitting operation on the planet. Let's just take it global.
Although she is the best pet sitter, I just want to say to all of you here.
I am. I've conquered my local territory. I thought about franchising, but no, I don't. No, that's not it.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing there. It's very empty.
Yeah, the only thing to watch for right now, I would say, if the emptiness is spacious and just is completely what it is, you're good. And if the ego is sneaking in, there seems to be some judgment around it or some malaise around it, that tamasic inertia kind of a feeling, then you know that the ego's gotten involved, and that could be pretty easily sorted out, I think, if you want to do a one-to-one. Everybody's always welcome to have a meeting with me one-to-one, and the first one is always on the house just to get to know each other and say hi. Is that good for now, Taylor? Do you feel complete?
I do, yeah, and thank you for, I went a little longer than I meant to, so I hope I didn't take from anyone else.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm going to say that in your case, you don't speak up that often. And so it felt important for you to articulate this particular thing, which many of us could relate to. So I think that that's the discernment that I'm asking us all to look for in ourselves. And I hope to support that in you here. I'll say for myself, accomplishing things for me, this temperament, this personality has been extremely important. And it has satisfied something in me that I then was able to put to rest. So I became a yoga teacher later in life in my 40s, and that felt like a huge accomplishment, and it was important. And then I was satisfied. And it's just different. We're at different places in our karma. That's all it is. Like being driven and ambition has a different flavor to it than whatever it is I'm describing. I think this here was more about self-esteem building, that I was actually finding out, oh, there's an Amy in here. I didn't know who I was. I didn't have a self. So I was layering in accomplishments, which felt very difficult for me to follow through on things. And then as I did, it opened me to be able to, it deconstructed Amy. It was part of my deconstruction of Amy process that each time I accomplished something, it became less personal. And there was less need to be a me. That's been my trajectory, interestingly enough. So my last thing, like you're talking about your facelift, mine is, shouldn't I write that book that I've been feeling like I should write forever? And it's there. So we'll see. Does a book need to be written? I'm really at that place where I'm often like, it's all been said. Do I need to write it? It's all there. But there's another part of me that's paying attention. Like, it seems like this might be one more completion that frees me. So I'm just noticing. Noticing is most of it. Rafi?
Yeah, and echoing what Taylor said about having stuff, the more I focus on my purpose of self-realization, the nicer the dream gets. My network is going through the roof. My health is always perfect. All my relationships are loving. And the danger, it would be to be attached to that. There's the ego trap. But when I'm completely hootless about it and maintaining focus on my only purpose, then all of that stuff happens. And what happens then when the abundance starts to flow like that, it's an indication of the unlimited abundance that we really are. Everything is serving us. So that's what it is. And I have all of this stuff and how it happened. Well, focus on my purpose and get rid of all of the stuff that was underneath it that was keeping it from happening in the first place. The attachments, the aversions, the programs, the resistance, the stories, the ploys, the tack, all these ego things, which fortunately for this and for the release technique, I have the tools to do all of that. So I get to the point where my peace is really obvious. The quiet is I can access it because it's always there. God is never indifferent. And everything else just flows magnificently, but it's not me but the Father that worketh through me. And how about all that stuff? Well, it's really very nice. What am I here for? Okay, get to that imperturbable peace. That is the God consciousness. So I just wanted to share it. And again, reminding myself, don't get caught up in a dream.
That is so true, Rafi. Really appreciate your share. Yeah, it's that discernment and knowing, self-realization is what your ultimate is. However, for somebody else, all that manifestation, that might be what they're here for, and then that's what they're doing. But you're at a point where you're hip to that could be the way that the ego keeps me involved, just giving me everything I want. I'm manifesting like a banshee. Law of attraction is just coming through me. And yet there's the, wait a minute, who's doing that? So then there's the identity issue, is it still all about Rafi or am I ready to let go of that too. He can do the head thing. Okay, on that note, because it feels like dancing and I just felt like playing this today, I would like to play Sol Makusa. And I think Sol Makusa, when I Googled it, basically means, I think it's from Cameroon and it's Mano Dibango. And it was the beginning of the disco era. It's like a soul classic worldwide, but it began the disco era, is what I understand. Maybe Annette knows. Am I right about that, Annette?
It was also the bump.
The bump.
The
I
bump
mean, you
is,
guys,
yeah.
and I think it basically, the words mean something like get up and dance. So I'm just going to recommend that we all do that now.
Mama ku mama sa makumakusa mama ku mama sa makumakusa mama ku mama sa makumakusa mama ku mama sa makumakusa. Sumanye Mosoma, Mosoma. Kuma, 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 kuma. Tanga tipo, umbusa tanga, ne usama kosa. Anumuna, sisi au, ya sama kosa. Amuna yeye, koma, sama kosa. Tanga tanga, umbusa tanga, ne sama kosa. Nika so. Mama ku mama sama kumakusa, mama ku mama sama kumakusa, mama ku mama sama kumakusa, mama sama kumakusa.
When I first heard that when I was a teenager, it blew me away. I just love funky music. I grew up on a street called Utopia Parkway. Utopia Parkway. And just go down the street listening to that song. Unbelievable. Just sheer joy. Unbelievable. Okay, my darlings. What a class. I'm buzzing. I'm humming. I'll see you next week. Mwah.